Perfect. Okay.
You cannot.
Just minimize it. You exit it. Yeah.
And now what?
And now turn on Mixcraft. With it should already be ready to roll right there. No, the other one. Yep. Just hit. Cool. Just hit record. Testing, testing. Yep. Okay. Think it's
1, 2,
working.
1, 2.
Yep. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
How's my gain?
Your game is fine.
How's my volume over there?
Volume's great. Boom. Okay. Podcast number 13. How hot is it over there?
Well, yesterday it was 113.
Wow.
So today it's probably about 104. Probably be another 113 day this afternoon. But Sandy and I, we love the desert.
Yeah, what do you love about it?
Well, I like being warm. I like the sunshine. I really came here to create my own theater as an entertainer. And these days, I'm going to turn that theater into a combination theater plus, full day workshop room. I'm going to do my own Tony Robbins full day experience.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, that is
Hello,
very
hello?
exciting.
You guys hear me?
And of course, the LA market will support that.
You don't hear yourself? I think maybe,
Please tell me you checked both headphones.
but he can hear us. We just can't hear.
Bodine, do you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Through the microphone?
I hear you.
No. Do you hear me clearly like you hear Jeremy?
Your gain is a little low. You could go up a little bit on your mixing board there.
I don't know what that means.
Your volume.
I think this one.
Hello? Is
Oh,
it
better.
Better?
Better.
Because
Okay.
Eric did the test. Remember, we can't hear each
Okay.
other
Oh,
because
so,
we're mixing in.
Oh,
That's why we were doing this with the.
got it. Okay.
But it's
Right,
going
right.
in
so
there.
don't move it forward, move it back so you're not on camera.
Right. Right. You could go up another 10%
What's fine, Jeremy?
Okay. I don't need to hear Eric anyways.
or allow yourself to
better
talk
this
with
way.
energy.
It's better.
We're
this
going to be
way
talking
anyways.
with energy as we go. And we're going to cover some ground
Yes.
and we're going to get the people inspired.
Let's
I
do
want
it.
them, we want them to know that we're here to inspire them, but we're here to provide methodology that is proven and that works.
Okay, hang on, Bodine. Save it. 1 second. You're
Okay.
gonna
Yeah, I'm full of it. So
you're gonna
You're
people have been, and that's what people have been telling me all of my life. Bodine, you're full of it.
You're
No.
full of excitement
Full of gold, that's
and
what you're full of.
enthusiasm.
I was the youngest guy to give a sermon at our church when I was 13.
Wow. Wow.
You know,
So I've always had this gift. And then when I went to UCLA, I was there to run. I got a scholarship. I was there to run. And I discovered I could get a degree in speech communication. So, hey,
Why not do what you love twice?
that's right. Why not add a little experience and academic awareness
Do you
to?
want to do this as a podcast, or do
Yeah,
you want to get
yeah.
on topic?
Yeah, we're live.
We're not live yet.
We can be. We can.
Okay.
We can be.
We can be.
Jeremy, do you do this on purpose?
You could,
No, I'm
Eric, you could turn up your
live.
volume a little. Eric could still use some more volume
Just relax. Everything's good.
if you
No,
can do it.
it's on purpose, and that's obvious. Okay. Hello.
Oh, better.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, great. Okay, so just want to get ready. This is podcast 13. You sure?
13.
13. Okay.
The
Okay. everyone.
lucky number.
Lucky number 13.
I'm feeling
all-
lucky.
They're all lucky numbers.
Lucky
I'm
number-
feeling lucky, punk.
Nice, nice.
I'm full of it today. I'm sorry. Okay.
So Zero Doubt Club, welcome. This is podcast 13, and with Bodine Balasco, which this is number 2 of a 4-part series, because this is no joke. This is a life and game changing process. And
How fun is that?
it's so fun. It's
Sign
so
me
fun
up.
because it's so possible and so capable. And
Yep.
well, we'll get into the specifics in a second because
Okay.
I always like to start with a little small talk. Jeremy,
Oh,
Okay.
you do?
I do.
All right. All right.
I
So,
don't like
so
to do it before the podcast starts. Like so.
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll play the beginning part, how we were talking about Bodine running in 113 degrees. Why don't we start there?
well, I'm living in Las Vegas now, and my wife and I love it here. And we live close to a huge soccer park. Vegas is very involved in the game of soccer
Right.
and for the community. And we live near a huge soccer park, and there's a track around the park that is about 2 miles to walk around this entire park. And there's a lot of trees and there's a lot of grass, you know. And so we love to go walk out there. We do a 2-mile walk every morning around this track. And so on July 4th, I decided to do a double day. So I did a 2-mile walk in the morning, and I did another 2-mile walk really hard, full effort in the afternoon. And the temperature was about 104.
Wow.
So my tan is coming along nicely.
It is.
And of course, I did a couple of meditations, and we got to see some fireworks and be together, and had a glorious, wonderful day, and did some reading and some studying.
It's a great weekend.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Sounds
And we had some sangria. That I should
There you
add
go.
that in there, because that was an element that made all the rest of it really wonderful.
So are you now considered a local and you do local things, or you also might go to the strip to watch a fireworks show?
Well, so I gave a speech. I gave a speech to a woman called me and said, I have this local association of the people who serve the meeting planners who come to Vegas. They provide the flowers. They'll get someone to be at your booth for your trade show. And it's a group of these people who run these service businesses in the meeting and event industry. And she said, I can't pay you, which is an interesting approach. I can't pay you, but I do have I have a list of people who I get free tickets to the shows in town. So if you come talk to my group, I'll put you on the free ticket show list.
Nice.
And so I thought that was nice. I would have done it for free anyway, because I love serving the people who are in the meeting and event business.
Sure.
And so she gets us free tickets to shows in town. So we, on a regular basis, we go over and attend a show. And we've been living here 7.5 years. So
Right.
we're pretty connected. And I'm a member of one of the service clubs in town, and I'm involved there. So
Nice.
we're pretty connected, and we love the desert. And so we're pretty happy.
I mean, there's always something to do. Literally
And you know,
24/7.
there's more meetings here than I could do in a lifetime. I mean, there's
Sure,
so many
sure.
meetings in this town,
So
and that's all gearing up. Boy, it's returning fast. We went over to have lunch with some friends at the Palazzo, and I couldn't find a parking space. And you
Wow.
know, they have like 5 floors of parking underground.
right.
So, you know, the town has opened up really fast, much faster than I thought it ever would.
Got it.
Yeah.
Even with 110 degrees, even with COVID.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
people don't care.
let me
People wanna
say
go
this.
gamble.
You know, the air conditioner on the top of my house is the size of my car. So, you know, we go from one air conditioned environment to the other.
Right.
So,
Jeremy, tell us about your amazing weekend, man.
Oh, my weekend was amazing. I went to the Ark encounter in Kentucky with Nathan, my
Wow.
son. Yeah. Talk about amazing. I mean, wow, it's a replica of, the way they describe it in the Bible.
yeah.
And I mean, it's 500 feet long, 80 feet high.
Whoa.
I mean, you walk in there and you feel like you're in the Ark.
Wow.
The animals that were brought onto the Ark, replicas of them. And it's just beautiful, amazing. So we did that. And then Nathan had a baseball game that got him into the championship game, which is tomorrow. So that was great. We did the fireworks thing. We did the barbecue. We did the boating. I had a great weekend. Grateful for
Wow.
everything. Yeah.
You got your
Wow.
workouts in, man.
I still got my workouts in, and
I'm
even
gonna make
yesterday-
plans. I'm gonna make plans now to join Jeremy next July 4th.
You're welcome to come visit.
Oh my
anytime.
gosh.
Anytime. It's going to be a party anytime you come. We don't have to wait
Wow.
till July 4th.
Well, what was interesting was that I also had, family come in.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of family and lakes and swimming pools and barbecuing. And I still got my workouts in. But we both talked about the fact that our just bodies felt out of it a little bit,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Just-
we both did talk about that yesterday. We were like, "Did you work out yesterday?" I said, yeah, but it was like kind of like not a half-ass workout, but I wasn't feeling, that amazing. And we're like, "What is that?" We didn't drink, we didn't do anything crazy. And I think it's just the whole thing of breaking routine.
right.
Breaking that routine that you're in, and you're just hitting it hard, and then you break the routine. You have the family, you have the barbecues, you have the sun that you're not used to standing outside for 7 hours or on a lake.
Yeah.
and
sure.
your body feels it, and that your body feels
Yeah.
it. And that's what we talk about, when we have a podcast about it, active recovery, active and passive recovery.
Right.
So it's like on days like that where you're kind of feeling out of it, it's okay to have like an active recovery day.
Yeah.
Chill.
Right.
Give your body a little rest.
100%. Back to routine, though.
Back to routine. Yeah,
I
back
love
to routine.
I love the routine now. Not that I don't love spending time with family, and it was my son's birthday, and I can't believe he's 19.
Yeah,
How
that's
can
crazy.
he be 19 if I'm 19? How is that possible?
I don't even know how it's possible. I thought you were 18, so this doesn't make any sense.
Of course not. Of course not. Okay, so Bodine, you ready? Ready to crush it
Yeah.
again?
Oh yeah. I'm excited to share the information that we've organized for the members and the listeners today.
I
Yes.
actually had a close friend reach out and go, "When's part 2? Like, I'm ready to rock right now." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "In a
yeah.
couple weeks." He's like, "What do you mean?"
Well, I'm glad
ready
to hear
go
it.
now.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear it.
And yeah, so
I put 25 years in to understand this, to communicate this, to test this out, and to organize this, to make this available to people.
Yeah, guys,
I
and I
believe- I
highly
believe-
recommend having a pen and paper for this.
pen and
Yeah,
paper.
yeah.
And if you didn't listen to one, we're going to recap it in a second, but definitely pen and paper for today. But just to remind everyone who Bodine Balasco is, he has established himself as one of the country's most knowledgeable speakers on vision creates reality. Jeremy and I are huge fans. We talk about it all the time, oh, and how it relates to transformations and results based working out and making a better life. But Bodine is I mean, decades of research and has spoken on this topic nationally, internationally, and is just taking it up so many levels. And again, so much positive feedback from the first podcast. Bodine illustrates the most effective new method for creating desired personal and business results. This
Yep.
is life-altering information for people and work teams that want to move to their next level. So before we jump in, I just want to say that this is 2 of 4. Podcast number 3, we're going to actually provide a workbook. So take notes, but we will give you a workbook if you
Yep.
DM us your email, or just email EG at
Mhm.
zerodoubtclub.com or Jeremy at JT at zerodoubtclub.com.
Yep.
We will
Send us your email and we'll get that workbook
We'll
to
get
you.
that
And
workbook, and that's
this is
gonna
my
be
latest,
gold.
in a 25-year period, I've progressively made workbooks because my clients all ask for them. And in a
Right.
workshop, I have to have one. And I keep, making them better and better. And this is the latest iteration of this final process that I've organized that we're going to make available. It's going to really, if you follow through on this workbook, you will level up.
Ooh, that's big.
Nice. Level up is big. If you're not leveling up, you're leveling down. Right?
I think that's what they say. Yeah.
So Jeremy, Bodine, before we jump into today's 9-step
Yeah.
vision creates reality process, Jeremy, talk about what vision creates reality means to you personally, and just your how you coach clients, how you life coach clients on vision creating reality, and why this is so important to us that we're making this such a big deal with a 4-part series
Right.
and stuff.
Well, based on my experiences of finally having a strong enough vision that led to my transformation, now I coach my clients into establishing their own vision of what they want,
Right.
whether it's lose 30 pounds or become stronger or maybe find a job that they feel more fulfilled. Create that vision and follow a system, a methodology, as Bodine is going to talk about now, on how to get there
Right.
and make it fun. And it really is fun. People think like it's hard work, but it's actually harder work not to do this.
100%.
It's harder work to just sit there and not do anything than do this.
Yes.
You also drilled into me really early was the negative self-talk and how that creates a negative reality, and how positive self-talk. Talk about that for a second.
Well, that's everything. Again, we have something around 70,000 thoughts a day, and based on how we use those
Wow.
thoughts, we will paint the vision that we want out of life. Okay, we are literally the artists of our life. So why not give ourselves an advantage and have a better life by having better positive thoughts and working on that? It's just like a muscle. It's a muscle, but the more when you're in awareness and when you're aware of your thoughts, that's
Yes.
the fastest way to create positive thoughts and create positive vision.
Yes.
So it's practicing awareness
100%. Awareness throughout the day, awareness
all the time.
and again, everything that we talk about in every we have a podcast on meditation now, which was excellent. I think it was last week or the week before. Journaling, this, which is vision creates
Mhm.
reality. When you put all these things together, they're like little daily self-aware miracles that happen. And
You know, in the world of communication theory, that's called metacognition, where you take a portion of your consciousness and use it to pay attention to your own thoughts.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about, and then
That's
that is
exactly-
so powerful.
exactly.
That's so powerful.
Okay, so let's jump in. Bodine, you will now be doing the majority of the talking because you are the guru, and everything that comes out of your mouth just seems to be one piece of golden nugget after.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very kind. I've worked a long time to organize all this stuff.
Okay, so now we have a 9-step-by-step process on, again, it's not a 9 steps of hard work. It's 9 steps of fun.
Yes.
And getting to this dream and getting to this vision or reality that you
Yes.
want as
Yes.
a human, to become better at something,
Yes.
to become healthier, to become happier, etc. And if you're not, we talked about this prior to the podcast today, if you're not looking to better your life, well, you said it awesome on that attorney conference last night. You told
Oh,
me about it.
yeah.
So even with that group, you got them all to.
Oh, well, I was joking. You're referencing a fun story where when as a motivational speaker, over a 25-year period, I did close to 1,000 major presentations. That's
Wow.
about one a week,
Right.
so, and occasionally, and I made this joke, occasionally I would get, I would be in front of the National Association of Arrogant Lawyers. And this is just a joke I'm making. I love lawyers. My best friend is a lawyer, but I would get these groups that were too hip to listen, too hip to pay attention. And yet I still was being paid to, try and get through to them. But I talk to a lot of groups that are really advanced and really successful. So their attitude is, what does this guy have to say to me? And yet I have this mandate and I've collected a down payment on my fee.
Right.
So I've got to get through to them. And I organized a process where I would start and say, I'd like to just go a little interactive here. Let's just have some fun. And, I want to ask you a question. And by a show of hands, how many think they're pretty darn good at what you do? And of course, that would get everybody to raise their hand.
Right.
And even the people who didn't, I would make everybody raise their hand. You wouldn't be in this room, I say to them, if you weren't pretty darn good at what you do. Now, let's go with question number 2 and listen to this one carefully. And I would say now, by a show of hands, how many think they've already reached 100% of their full potential in this life? And not a single hand would go up.
Sure.
And then, of course, the message is there's more in us and we all know it. And now let's talk. Let's talk about how to get what that is, what we know is in us out into our life, our efforts, and our relationships. And that always worked, by the way. And that's a good thing for us to understand. No matter where you are in this life, there's more in you, and you know it. And passion comes from tapping into that and getting that out into our life, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of really the intent.
Okay. So that's a great point, is that why this podcast is absolutely for everyone in the world is because there's more in us.
There's more in everyone. Everyone has this amazing amount of potential and energy stored, waiting to explode.
That's right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing becoming positive, right? It doesn't have to be somebody that's obese looking to get in shape. It could be somebody in shape looking to climb Kilimanjaro, right?
It could be anything.
It can be anything that's more in us. It can be, running wasn't on my radar. Now I want to run a half a marathon. And 2 weeks ago, it wasn't even part of my radar.
Wow.
Man, I'm just saying.
That's actually big right there, Eric. That's big. It wasn't even on your radar. And people are worried about only stuff that's on their radar when we don't have to.
Right.
We don't have to worry about the stuff that's not on our radar.
Right. Is when things come along and things are good, why not work on ways of making them better?
Wow.
If things are not good, then run as fast as you can. And do whatever it takes to get to that. And that's what we're going to talk about, is actually putting a scientifically proven process that Bodine has researched and put together. And let's jump in. So step number 1, Bodine, go.
Well, there are 9 steps. What I set out when I was a very successful entertainer, and then my entertainment clients started inviting me to, tell inspirational stories. And then they asked me to do workshops and team training. And I just evolved from being an entertainer into being a speaker and a workshop trainer. And when I decided that that's what I was going to do for a living, when I realized that's my new way of oh my gosh, I'm a speaker now, and I'm a workshop trainer, and I'm talking to groups that are really smart. I'm talking to CEOs and stuff now. Right. So I went on what I call a wisdom hunt. And that started a 25-year research effort on my part. And I was looking for the answer to one question: how do human beings most effectively create the results that they want in their life and in their work? That to me was the question. That's still the question, but I've found the answer. And what I found was what is called the generative creative process. And that's, at the heart of creativity, and not creativity and how do you do what you're doing more creatively, but how do you bring into being results for yourself that don't currently exist. That's the first 5 steps of the process. But then what has been discovered kind of recently, I'd say in the last 7 years, is the natural planning process of the human brain. This is a sequence of behavior that you do subconsciously every day. When you fix breakfast, you use the natural planning process of the human brain. You say to your wife, let's go to that event this weekend, and then, or maybe let's go to dinner and then go to that event this weekend. You have to go through a natural planning process. Your brain does this without even thinking.
Right.
And so, but this has now been discovered step by step. And so it coincides with the way you work best anyway. And I put these two together with some other elements, and it came out to 9 steps. And this works every single time. And I've never seen this not work, right? So I kind of have cracked the code. Let's start. There are 9 steps.
Yes.
And we can start with number 1. Now, we covered some of this last time, but let's just go quickly.
Okay.
Number 1 is the desired outcome. And that starts with one main question. And this is the question that activates the entire process. And this question is, what is it in your heart at this point in your life that you want to create? What do you want to create? That is step number 1. Ask that question and answer that question, right? And that shifts you to an creative orientation, because you're not saying, what do I want? You're saying something more active. What do I want to create? There is an assumption there that you're defining to yourself when you ask and answer that question that says, I'm the source of the creation of my own results in my life. So what is it that you truly want to create? It generally takes 3 to 5 sentences to answer this question. And all you really need to do is get enough detail to where you'll know when you succeed. You have to know what it is.
You'll feel it, right?
You'll know because you defined what it is. So you'll know when you get there, you know?
And it could be as creating a new business, or it can be creating a healthier body for myself. It could be creating a deeper relationship with my wife. It could be creating a bucket list trip to the Wall of China.
My wife keeps asking me to do a hummingbird feeder and little cage to hang on the tree outside the kitchen window so she can see the hummingbirds when she's doing the work, or when all of us are doing the work. I don't want to get gender bias here about behavior inside the house, but your son comes to you and says, I have a science project, can you help me with it? You know, it's anything that you want to create, big or small, this process works. And it always starts with step number 1. What is it that you truly want to create? You know, that famous American philosopher, Yogi Berra, once said, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. So, that's number 1. So shall we move on to number 2?
Yeah,
Yes,
let's do
please.
This has been left out for years. Recently, I think in the last 5 years or so, I've noticed that we're finally paying attention to step number 2, which I've been aware of for many years. And I'm happy to see it get into the methodology that others are offering as well. And that is purpose. And purpose is a very simple question as well. And that is, why do you want to create what you've chosen? What are the reasons why you want to create this outcome? You have to answer that question. So we were talking, Eric, we were just talking earlier today as we were preparing to come online here with everybody.
Yep.
We were talking about, lose 30 pounds.
Yes.
Right? Why do you want to lose 30 pounds? I'm in the process of dropping some weight. And one of the reasons is I just want to look better on my when I step up in front of an audience, I just want to look better. And I think trim looks better. But then the other thing is that trim is a reflection of another level of health.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I want my clothes to fit. And there's, how many reasons can we think of?
But Bodine, the why and the purpose has been the single most effective thing for me. Jeremy told me once because I told him I'm intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Which was the 3rd level of diet, right? So I'm dropping weight and I'm working out and I'm
very effective.
I'm gaining muscle weight and I'm not dropping the weight, but I am dropping weight. And so I started intermittent fasting, and Jeremy goes, write your list of 10 reasons why you're doing intermittent fasting.
Oh man, see, that's an intuitive awareness that he brings to what you guys are offering.
And throughout the day, as I'm thinking about food and thinking about going to eat calories and whatever else, I reference back to this sheet of paper all day and all evening, and it got me through. It got me through.
Why generates authentic motivation?
Right, and it was
Why really brings you.
Yes, it was hitting the weight, my goal weight. It was fitting into the new clothes. It was, my continued purpose of becoming extremely healthy. Uh, the whys that were on it was, wife, kids, family, myself, to live longer. And it did, as I started creating this list, it just free flowed. Jeremy's like, write the top 10. I think I stopped at 15, 16, but could have went to 50 reasons why I was intermittent fasting. And you forget those. You forget them so fast. As many as there were that were free flowing on the sheet of paper, there actually were a lot, but you can forget them in the day to day and get back to day to day.
It brings such dimension to your outcome.
Yes.
It actually gives life and juice to your outcome,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. And it also, by the way, it provides you with what I would call influence. When we know why we want to do something, we have influence over ourselves and over other people that are around us that basically we want them to be supportive and adaptive to what we're choosing, and we want to have influence over others. And when you know why you want to create something, it gives you a larger influence in your relationships as well. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah. I also think it helps with making the small stuff, which is almost everything, really be small stuff and not really stress about, the day-to-day life of going to work, picking up kids, making it on time back home to make dinner. Like you start it's okay. Yeah. It puts things in perspective.
Right.
Yes. So that is so important. Shall we move to number 3?
Let's go.
Sir.
Right. And these work in a sequence and they build upon each other. So when you do the sequence, you'll start to notice things happening inside of you. You'll start to notice your brain responding and your system responding. Now, before we go any further, I use a word called your system, a phrase, your system. And when I say system, I'm talking about all the parts of being a human. We have our conscious mind, we have our subconscious mind, we have our emotions and our personal affect. And, we have a connection to some element of the life source. All of this is what I call your system. And this entire process activates your system. So number 3 is, and this is really important, we've defined our desired outcome. What do we want to create? We've defined our purpose. Why do we want to create it?
Yes.
Now we need to gain some leverage. Everything takes leverage. Where does the energy come from? Where does the discipline come from? Where does the forward desire to move come from? Where does the urge to learn something or read a book you need to read? Where does the leverage come from? And so number 3 is current circumstances. It's really important for us to really describe where we are right now. And I call this current circumstances. And this is where you get really honest about what is your current reality? What are your current circumstances? What are your existing resources? This is so important, which I'll explain in just a minute. But you need 2 points of reference. There's a structure here. And the simplest structure is the structure between 2 points of reference. And essentially what we're saying is, this is where I want to go. This is where I am now. You can't really work out a strategic, effective plan to get where you want to go if you don't know and give your system a really clear awareness of where you are right now.
Right.
And this creates a dynamic, which is a gap. And the human system responds to this gap with a form of energy called creative tension, which wants to resolve itself by giving you what you need to move from where you are to where you want to go. The human mind is
So-
teleological. It means that when you give it a goal, it begins to focus on that, achieving that goal. When you give the human system a gap, what I call the performance gap between where you are and where you want to go, what you've got and what you want to create, you create an extraordinary dynamic that the human brain wants to resolve and wants to give you what you need to move from where you are to where you want to go. This happens organically on a natural, subconscious level. And it happens when we get clear on your desired outcome and your current circumstances.
And then you mentioned step 4, which is the creative tension that automatically gets created in the human being.
The creative tension is the way your system responds to the creation of the gap. When you create this discrepancy between what you want to create and where you are right now, your system generates a kind of tension to resolve this discrepancy.
Right.
Right. And
So
it begins to give you, it will drive creative ideas. It will drive, and it will provide energy for your action steps. It's action fuel, actually.
Right. So let's put it in layman's terms again. Creative tension and certain circumstances and current circumstances. It just feels a little complicated. So
Okay, let me put it this way. Let me say this. Let's say you call a cab company and you say, I'm over here at, I would really like to get to the Palazzo Hotel Casino. They say, okay, where are you now? And you say, well, I'm not sure. They're going to hang up on you. They think you're a jokester, right?
Right.
You call the same cab company and you say, I'm at 8105 and I need a cab. And they say, well, where do you want to go? And you go, well, I'm not so sure. They're not coming. They're not going to send you a cab. They're going to hang up on you. These 2 points of reference are the essential points of reference for human beings for anything they want to do, anything you want to create. And the human brain evolved to respond to this defined discrepancy, this gap between where you are and where you want to go. And when you define this clearly, you automatically get your system moving forward to close the gap. The gap is good. Your system responds to the gap. The gap is good. Sometimes when I'm with people, the first thing everyone says to me, work teams, individuals, they all say, I don't have enough time and I don't have enough money, right? And the thing is that when we focus on this process, and when you say I don't have enough time and I don't have enough money, what you're saying is my current circumstances actually define and limit my capacity to create the results I want. In the creative process, your current circumstances are simply part of a structure that is the current context in which you create what you want. You're not limited by your circumstances. They're just part of your context. They are where you start, where you begin. The only limitation on your ability to create is your definition of your desired result.
Okay, so let's do a quick case study on steps 1 through 4. So 1, my desired outcome, I want to lose 30, 40 pounds. Number 2, why? Because I want to live long. I want to be around for my family. I want to do so many more things in life. Those are my why. I want to feel healthier. I want to look healthier, etc.
I want to live longer.
Live longer. Number 3, current circumstances. I don't like how I look.
What do you weigh right now? That's the first one.
What I weigh right now. I'm snoring. I don't have good quality sleep. My resting heart rate is high. I don't fit in my clothes. I have a low energy level. That's current.
Right.
If they go deep and honest, that's what's on the list.
It's about being really honest and just the facts.
And
So
just the
sometimes
facts.
people fall into saying, oh, this is bad and this is awful.
Mhm.
And you don't want to say that. Like if you say, oh, it's really bad how I'm not sleeping well, you want to just do the facts. I'm only getting 5.5 hours of sleep every night, and I really need 7. You want to focus in on the facts. You want to do the details of your current reality. You don't want to do the editorial. No editorial, right? And
Because that's
that's
negative self-talk, and
that's
what we're
right.
trying not to do.
That's
Correct.
right.
It-
Just
it-
the facts.
It may
So
or may not be there unless it's a fact.
I like to say to people, this age-old question that's part of the, achievement science is the glass half full or half empty? In the creative process, it's a 12-ounce tumbler with 6 ounces of liquid in it. You see,
Got it.
you're only describing what it is right now. And I want it to be full. So you don't say it's half empty or it's half full. You say 12-ounce glass, 6 ounces of liquid, right? Yeah. Now, the other thing
My
is
resting
that
heart rate's at 95. It should
exactly.
be at 95, right?
Exactly. And now one thing that I want to point out to everyone is that when we start this process and we're really talking about, and you just touched on this, we're really talking about the power of love and the power of truth. Your desired outcome is, what do you love so much? What do you care about so much that you want to bring it into being, right? That's love. That's desire. And then what's your current reality? That's truth. Where are you now? That is a really, really interesting discrepancy. And love and truth together are very powerful in your life. Now, the one thing I would say to people is that often when we think about what we want, it's really easy to think about what we want. It's really, that comes pretty easy for people. But it's really hard once we think about what we want. It can be very challenging to think about where we are now, because then it can seem like the Grand Canyon has to be crossed. The gap can sometimes seem really big,
Right.
but the gap is good, and the gap generates energy. And the bigger the gap, the more the energy. It's a very ironic thing, and it's absolutely true. So once you start with this process, don't be afraid of having a discrepancy, a gap between what you want and where you are. That gap is good.
So it's like a rubber band.
It's like the rubber band. Exactly. There's a rubber band that gets stretched. And if we get to number 4, where you choose to create your result before, see, when you stretch a rubber band between your hands, it has to resolve. It will start pulling. I'm going to bring a rubber band next time and show you this entire exercise.
Part three.
It's an illustration. But if I stretch a rubber band between my hands, right? I stretch a rubber band, it's going to want to resolve back to its natural state. I stretch it, it's full of energy. That energy wants to resolve. There's 2 ways it can resolve. One is I allow my goal to erode, along with my energy and my passion and my motivation. If, however, in step number 4, we go back and reread our desired outcome, and we say, before I know how I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to organize my life and my actions to make this come into being, to create this. That drives this end of the rubber band into the ground. And now the tension energy can only resolve in one direction, and it starts to pull you towards your goal. And it starts to provide you with what you need: action fuel, creative ideas. And it will continue to, if you maintain the discrepancy and you maintain your choice to create, it will continue to resolve until your current circumstances include or become your desired outcome.
So this creative tension, it's important because now we don't have to worry about the how. It just happens.
Well, what happens is that it drives the creative thinking for the action plan that becomes the how. You have to do a lot of creative thinking to come up with the action plan, to start moving, a specific strategic action plan to start moving from where you are to where you want to go. And you don't have the leverage of the creative tension, sitting down to do that kind of creative thinking can be pretty demanding. But once you've set creative tension into place, your brain, your subconscious is going to start feeding you ideas because it needs to resolve. And one of the best ways to resolve is to give you ideas that will help resolve the tension. We'll get to that in a bit. And the reason we're doing all of this first is because this incredible dynamic energy of creative tension, which comes from creating the discrepancy or the gap between what you want and where you are, that energy really, really drives the rest of the process.
Amazing.
Okay, let's keep going. Next step.
I would say that the hallmark of, and studies have been done of people across different vocational categories who have the capacity to create results with very little resource available. They're all using this methodology intuitively. And in fact, most everybody within the sound of our voices right now has at some point in their life done something amazing, decided to do something, decided to create something, and they did it and they achieved it. And it was wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. And they tapped into this process and into this energy intuitively. But this is an ability, this provides us with an ability to make it conscious and turn it into a method. And every time we do it, we get better at it.
Wow.
Can I say one more thing before we leave this topic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This is over into science again, but stay with me. This is a good one. Good little story.
All right.
The human system is always measuring, always, on thousands of levels in your system. Let's just take water. How much water is in your body? The human system is always measuring, is always aware of how much water you have in your body and how much water your system wants, right? So there's always this determination on a level that's physiological and subconscious. How much water is in the body? How much water do we need in the body? Now, when the discrepancy or gap between how much water is in the body and how much water the body needs and wants becomes too big, what happens is your system generates the experience of thirst. And thirst drives the activity, the action of finding water and drinking it and getting it into your body. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're thirsty, it's easier to take the action to go get water and drink it into your body than it is to do nothing.
Wow, that's a great point.
Right? So when we start using creative tension, when we build this gap and we choose to create, which actually forces and directs the creative tension energy to resolve in the positive direction, it becomes, and you were talking about this earlier, it becomes easier to take the actions to create our result, to keep moving towards our outcome, than it is to do nothing. It makes it, action becomes easier to take than to do nothing when you generate creative tension with this process.
So the creative tension is like the body's intelligence. So this creates like a creative intelligence that in return gives you these ideas to get you to where you pick up that water or you get that idea to create that vision.
That's right. That's right. It drives creative thinking because it needs creative thinking is what's going to resolve the tension. It drives action, energy, because actions are what's going to resolve the tension, right? So it's a dynamic that works on the level of like gravity, and it's part of the way the system works. Mm-hmm. It's part of the human bodies and human minds, the mind-body process. It's not something somebody invented. It's something somebody discovered.
Yeah. It's energy.
It is energy. This is the only process that actually generates energy in the human system, independent of your food and your diet and the other elements that you do for your health.
Wow.
It generates energy.
Whew, amazing.
Yeah, it's really strong. And once we start using it and we get relaxed about it, which is to say we get natural about it, and we start using this process over and over again, it becomes very, very powerful. And it's anytime you create the gap, you're generating energy that will drive creative thinking and fuel your actions.
Mhm.
The creating the discrepancy or the gap between your desired results and your current circumstances is the hallmark. It's the stock in trade
Yeah.
of masterful, productive creators.
So we need this gap. We need to be conscious of where we are, and we need to be conscious of where we want to go.
Exactly. It seems so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And it really is.
Yeah.
If we do it in a certain sequence, it really, really empowers us.
Amazing.
Okay. I love the next step. Step 5.
Oh, number 4? You want to do number 4?
4 was creative tension, no?
Well,
Energy?
number 3 is really the creative tension is the result of
Activating
creating
your
the
system.
2 points of reference. And the second point is number 3, current circumstances. And that generates the gap, which generates the creative tension energy. Number 4 is, like what I said was, if I stretch a rubber band between my hands and it needs to resolve, there's 2 ways it can resolve.
Mhm.
One is I allow my goal to erode. That'll reduce the tension. We've done that before. All of us have done that before, right?
That for 30 some years.
The other one is that it moves in the productive direction and starts pulling us forward. Now, what's the difference between it resolving in this non-productive way and it resolving in this productive way? The difference is we drive this stake into the ground. We drive our desired outcome into the ground by formally choosing to create it before we know how we're going to do it.
Mhm.
That drives the stake into the ground. And now the tension energy can only move in one direction, right? So it's this, and we often leave this out, making this. And here's another thing. Here's another thing that we've been conditioned in this culture, and that is we're often reluctant to commit to creating what we want unless we kind of know how we're going to do it.
Yep.
Unless we kind of know how we're going to do it, we often don't even let ourselves get started. This is how we kill a lot of our efforts that could have been really tremendous. The commitment is not willpower. Commitment is choosing to create the results you want before you know how you're going to do it.
Right.
Because this process is the process of inventing the path from where you are to where you want to go. That's number 4. It's very important. Now, choosing is only valid if you can also say no in addition to saying yes. Right? If you can only say yes, it's an obligation. An obligation is not as powerful as choice.
Right.
So let me just say one more thing. When we go to this step, what do we want to create? What are our current circumstances? We've got the creative tension, and now we go and we read our outcome to ourselves, and then we say, do I really want to organize my life and my actions and my focus on bringing this into being? Now, sometimes in reality, we don't really want it that much. We don't really want it as much as it will require. And we just say no. And that's a good thing. That's like throwing luggage off the train. And the train can move. I'm throwing luggage. I can move faster now. I had this thought that I wanted this. I went through this process. And at this point, I realized I don't really want this. I'd rather choose something else and devote my time to something else. That's powerful choosing. Now, if we go back there and we say it to ourselves, and we know we can say no, we know we can say yes, we have the power of choice. And then if we say yes, boom, you've got that stake in the ground. And now this tension energy can only go in one direction. And it starts providing you with what you need. Okay, that's step number 4.
Got it.
Choosing to create the results before you know how you're going to do it. Huh?
Stake in the ground.
Stake in the ground.
The stake in the ground.
That's it.
Okay, step 5.
That's great. The stake in the ground. Wow, that's like the land rush. You go and put the stake in the ground on the property that you want, and you're going to develop that into your home and your ranch. Okay, so number 5.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Yes.
Number 5 has been around since since the 1950s and the early 1960s. And number 5 is the human superpower. It is engaging the power of your imagination. And we now have brought it right back to the forefront because it does so much. And so if you're going to activate the full resource of your system, you want your conscious mind involved. You want your emotions and your passion involved. You want your positive affect involved. You want all of who you are and what you're capable of as a human being to be engaged in this process. We really need to create a vivid mental, sensory-rich image in our minds, with the imagination of our success. We visualize our complete success ahead of time.
Yep.
So you said 1950s. Is this where like dream boards came in, vision boards?
Well, I think Maxwell Maltz was the first guy with Psycho-Cybernetics, was a book that came out in the early 60s. And I think some of the wisdom schools go way back. Some of the wisdom schools that go way back in time, they touched on the power of the human imagination. Napoleon once said, and was famous for saying, imagination rules the world. And Lord Wellington, the English general that defeated him at that famous Battle of Waterloo, Lord Wellington in his memoirs said that when Napoleon was on the field with his army, it was the equivalent of fighting another 30,000 men.
Wow.
So here's a guy that he multiplied his impact 30,000 to 1. And he was the one that said, imagination rules the world. What imagination does in our modern context is it gives your system information that it cannot be given any other way. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So we can, describe with language, with written language, and even self-talk, we can describe what we want and where we are. But only a vivid mental picture can give you that sensory-rich image. Think about really completely succeeding at your outcome and see it as if you're there looking at it through your own eyes, and answer these 3 questions. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Oh, I got this wonderful outcome. Right now, I'm going to move forward in time. And I'm going to see myself completely succeeding at what I've chosen. What does it look like to succeed at this? What does it sound like?
Let me try.
What do people say to me? What do my friends and my family say to me when I succeed at this?
Nice.
Hear them saying to you, oh, it's so great. Congratulations, right? And what does it feel like? What is the feeling of success? When you decide to do something and then you do it, right? What does it feel like? And get that feeling. What you're doing there is you are communicating to the deepest level of your system what it is you really want. And the system will really lock in, and you'll start noticing resources that you didn't notice before. Yep. You'll start thinking about things you didn't think about before. Right?
Resources is a big.
There is a reticular activating system is a part of the human brain that's right between the top of your spinal cord and the bottom of your brain stem. And it basically, we're only taking in maybe 17% of what's happening right now on a sensory level. So that was, 80%, 80% of what's going on, we're not seeing.
Right.
Now, what if there's information going on that's important to our goal? When you get a sensory rich image of what you want, you shift your reticular activating system begins to pay attention to what's most important.
Yep.
So is this where like coincidences happen, or
Oh,
you
yes.
connecting
Oh,
the dots, or you start like, oh my gosh, like deja vu or stuff like that happens? It's like this
I
like
think
magical- Yeah.
coincidence is really a combination of creative tension actually operating, and also you just simply noticing things that you weren't noticing before, right?
Yep.
Sometimes a coincidence is just that this was happening all along.
Yeah.
This was here all along, and I didn't see it until now.
Right.
And now I see it, and it seems like this amazing coincidence. But that's because when you use the power, your superpower of your imagination, you begin to see things in your environment that will support you in your effort that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
Right. So two things. Number one, we talk about that or in journaling, right?
Yeah.
Of what resource do I need today to get me anything that's on that list?
That's right.
What resource or person or class or what do I need to learn to help get me past that?
This is so powerful. Journaling, I think the success that you've had with journaling and the journaling method that you share with your with your members, I think it really, really feeds into this process.
Yep.
Yep.
And it allows you to have a loop with yourself about what this process is doing and what you think, and you're interacting with your system, and you're actually moving forward with the process. I think the journaling is really plays into this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it helps you actually see your superpowers
Yes.
when you journal, because then you can go
Excuse me.
back and be like, oh my gosh, this is like starting to add up. Like this connects. But the
Yes.
brain, when we don't journal, the brain like forgets all that, and it doesn't pay attention to anything.
Yes.
Right?
I
It
think
wants to use as little amount of energy as possible.
Yeah, you see, you know, the other thing about the creative tension and is that, you know, energy follows the path of least resistance. You know, water that flows through a riverbed actually moves through the path of least resistance.
Right.
And what happens is that when you start generating creative tension, you will start getting to your goals faster because that energy wants to resolve as quickly as it possibly can.
Wow. So
Can I tell you one thing? Can I tell you just one thing?
Absolutely.
Can I tell just one story now?
Sure. Just one.
If you look back on your own life, and this happens a lot when we're in workshop mode, people start, you know, they start having flashbacks of when they had an experience that reminds them that they were intuitively doing this all along. We're intuitively doing this all along. We just don't use it as a method, so we don't do it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I was training for the Olympics for 10 years, and I injured my Achilles tendon, and I couldn't run anymore. And I was waiting tables 3 nights a week to pay for my running habit. I was running 15 miles a day because back then you had to be an amateur. And I basically had to, all of a sudden in my life, I had to think about doing something other than run. I had to think about making a living. I liked being a waiter, but I wasn't going to do it forever, right? And so I basically sat down and I decided, well, what kind of life do I want? I said, I want to work 6 months on, 6 months off. I want to be self-employed, and I want to have no glass ceiling. The better I get, the more money I make. I looked around, I couldn't find any jobs that gave me this. But I was living with this question of what do I want to do for a living now? And I'm waiting tables, and a guy comes in who's a professional magician and sits at the bar. And he was with his wife on his night off. And it was a busy night, so he sat at the bar to wait for his table. And while he was there, he started vanishing lit cigarettes, started making coins jump from hand to hand. He was just doing amazing things. And they comped his drinks, they comped his meal, and he had a crowd of people around him all night long. And it hit me like a lightning bolt. That's what I want to do. If I can learn that, I can be free as a bird. I went into the manager's office and I said, I'd like to give my 2 weeks notice. He said, what for? I said, I'm going to do what the guy at the bar is doing. He said, that takes a lifetime. I said, I'm going to start tomorrow morning. And so he said, you could quit tonight if you wanted. I said, you wouldn't be insulted? He said, no, I can get guys to take your shift. I quit that night. I got 11 books on sleight of hand magic. One book I got in the opening page said, there's only 3 sleight of hand maneuvers or techniques you need to know, only 3 to do miracles for laymen with a deck of cards. I learned those 3 things immediately, and I immediately started entertaining people and making money because I learned 3 things that allowed me to do miracles for laymen.
Nice.
And that is the message to the fact that when you use a process like this, you can go very quickly because you're gonna zero in on exactly what's going to have the most impact for moving you forward to get where you want to go. I still use mostly those 3 techniques when I use a deck of cards to entertain a group of people. And I learned those in about a week.
And when we get together, I want to see some of those tricks.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, guys, we are over an hour already, and we can.
Oh God, let's move.
We could be on 8 hours. So here's what I propose: that part 2 is a 2-part series because Bodine, I just know steps.
Can
6,
I just
7,
go through
8.
them? Let's just go through them quickly.
Okay, but
Real fast.
I want to recap steps 1 through 5 in the case study, just so
Okay, that would be great.
people can connect the dots. So again, step 1, desired outcome. I want to lose weight in the case study, right? I need to lose weight. Why? So I live longer and healthier for my family. Step 3, current circumstances. I weigh X amount. My blood pressure is Y. I sleep 5.5 hours and should sleep 8, etc. My stake in the ground is I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm done. I'm definitely doing it this time, right? That's step 4. Step 5, my imagination. Now I'm getting custom fit for a suit or getting my new suit altered, and I'm clothes shopping for this awesome trendy clothes that I never fit in before.
Mhm. Friends are complimenting me, so on and so
That's
on.
right. That wonderful thing people say, they're going, have you lost some weight?
Right.
Yeah. So I look like great. I sound confident, more confident. My friends
Yes.
are paying me compliments.
Yes.
I feel like I'm an
Yes.
inspiration. I feel
Yes.
way more confident
Yes.
and positive, and my
Yes.
friends and family see that
Yes.
as a result as well.
Yes.
Is that steps 1 through 5?
That is steps 1 through 5. That is really, that's really, really good. Now there are 4 more steps. I'm just going to say them real quick and then we'll come back, and I have something to tell everybody of something to do between now and when we visit with them again. Okay.
What? A homework assignment? I love those.
Yes.
Guys, stop using the word work. You're going to create a not a workbook, a fun book.
Yes. It's going to be a very
fun.
Let's call it a passion book. Let's call it a passion book, a success book,
a success
where we have all
book.
9 steps.
Call it what you want to call it, just use it.
The 6th step, in the first steps, you're really activating your system. You're getting clear on what you want. You're getting clear on where you are. You're getting clear on why you want it. You're generating the energy dynamic that's going to fuel your actions and drive your creative thinking. You're using your superpower to actually guide your brain into paying attention to the things that'll make a difference, and to, energizing you and providing passion and energy. Then the next thing you need to do is you start to have an action plan. And so you start brainstorming. Now, you're not brainstorming from scratch. You've stimulated your system. It's ready to start giving you ideas. And we use a brainstorming process. There are 5 specific questions that you need to ask yourself that will provide you in the workbook. the seventh thing you do after you've done the brainstorming, and it happens in a random, just think of anything in any order and put it down on paper. All kinds of stuff comes out. 20% of it's going to be great. 20% of it, and you'll know which it is going to organize your initial action plan. The next step is that you actually label things and organize them into your first action plan. And all you need to begin with is to extract enough initial actions to where you can get going, and you will. And then the next step is that you pick of the actions. Maybe you come up with 3 actions out of this first process of brainstorming, labeling, and organizing. Now there's 3 things you know you can do to get started. You pick the best first action, and you go, and then you do the other 2. And then you come back and you generate more. And when you generate more, you're always living with one question when you use this process. What's my next best action?
Perfect.
This process, you generate more
just
actions.
Quickly to connect to case study, I'm getting a book on keto diet. Calling a trainer to see what his availability is over the next week. Those are specific actions I can do today, tomorrow, to start creating this vision. Right? I will get on a better sleep habit. I will go to sleep earlier. I will, etc. I'm just saying, like, there's absolute action steps that happen.
Totally.
As
I call this process sometimes jumpstart follow through, because the jumpstart is you get right away to some actions you can take right away, and you start doing them. Then you go back to the process, generate more actions. The first one is, what's my best first action? And then as you go, it's, what's my best next action? And when you use those 2 questions and you generate this thing, you will move along. Now, here's the homework assignment.
Yes.
Think about what you want to create. Actually, think about why you want to create it. And then describe your current circumstances relative to that thing, and then choose to do it before you know how you're going to do it. And then visualize success. That's your homework assignment. And develop a process for capturing ideas as they come. You got to have a pad. What's the most creative room in your house? It's your bathroom. More ideas come. More ideas come from stepping out of the shower or in the shower than any other place in your room.
Toilet.
And right next to your bed, you've got to have a pad and a pen. On the table where you watch television, you've got to have a pad and a pen, because when you do these first 5 things, what do you want to create? Why do you want to create it? Where are you now? Do you want to create it? Yes. What does success look like? Ideas are going to start to come. In the next week, between when you see us now and when you see us the next time we're on the air, a bunch of ideas are going to come to you. I guarantee it. And you've got to develop a process that'll be part of your life forever of capturing ideas when they come.
We were going to do this 4-part series a month. In between, we're going to move that up. So we'll see. We'll try to do it next week, maybe the week after.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm speaking out of time. I wasn't at the scheduling meeting, so I'm speaking out of turn. What I mean is the next time we're together. But the just even listening to what we're saying now,
yes,
is going to be absorbed, and people, everyone who's listening right now, ideas are going to start coming to them.
Yes. And
we need to capture them. This is one of the most, this is very current wisdom too. There's not a productivity system that you can investigate where they aren't saying you must have an inbox. You must be able to capture ideas, put them into an inbox, process them every 3 days. Just put those ideas somewhere. You don't have to process them right away. Just capture ideas as they come, put them to the side, and process them when you're ready to go. But it's going to happen. And that's the assignment. And that's an exciting thing, because your brain is understanding what we're talking about. And your brain is.
We'll talk about it next week, but I think my journal has become my inbox for.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. It's my day-to-day, it's my to-do, it's
Yeah.
my vision board, it's my everything. It's, man, my journal is like my diary almost. Like it not almost.
Yeah.
It is.
So
And what we need is we need some kind of symbol that you put aside your idea. Like I have an idea that comes just boom. And then you go through and look for the items that have that symbol next to them and you process
Nice.
them
That's a good
every
idea.
2 or 3 days from your
Great
journal.
idea.
But that's, yeah, I forgot about the journal all of a sudden. That's
Yeah.
so powerful.
So powerful. So
So
the first
powerful.
part of the homework assignment is go out and get a couple journals.
Okay.
And then the second part, which is actually fun work, is use our imagination and just capture what comes in our mind and write it down, right?
That's it.
Simple
That's
stuff.
it.
Fun.
That's it.
100%.
That's a great place to
And
close.
then when we come back, probably will be in 2 weeks, we're gonna take the stuff that we captured and we're gonna apply it, right? Or at least
We're
start
going to turn it into a simple initial action plan that we
Okay.
can start acting upon right away.
Love it. Okay, that's big right there.
It's big, it's strong. We're gonna show a couple examples, some case studies. We're gonna have this. Sorry, it's not.
And the other thing, one more thing I'd like to mention.
Yep.
When you start engaging in this kind of process, you organically start to get to zero doubt because you begin to believe in your ability to create the result that you want.
I love this guy.
We love this guy.
No, it's true. It's so true.
That's why I'm so attracted to your name, to your logo, and to what you're doing. Zero doubt. Zero doubt.
Yes.
Zero doubt. Zero doubt. We will get to our vision, and our vision will happen.
Thank you, Eric,
Bodine,
and thank you, Jeremy, for allowing me to participate
Bodine.
in your communication.
So again, 9-step process. We'll have the workbook next.
We'll have the
podcast,
workbook
which is in a
next
week or
time, yep.
two, and we'll have some case studies. And what else are we going to offer them, Bodine? A recap, I'm sure, and
Well, we'll talk about part 4. What's coming in part 4? Yeah,
Part
which
4
is
exciting.
even more
Bodine,
exciting.
Oh yeah, we have
Whiteboards all coming together.
yeah. I think we'll have something ready by then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Cool, guys.
Okay,
So
great.
just send us your emails and we'll get those workbooks out to you.
Great.
All right.
Okay, guys.
All right,
peace.
Bodine. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Viva Las
Talk
Vegas.
soon.
Have fun.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.